People ask me all the time why I've come to Lifeline, why I would choose to leave the for-profit world to come to the not-for-profit world. At Lifeline, all of us are here for a reason. We all have a story. My story begins with a young man. The young man I'm referring to grew up in a dysfunctional family. In fact, his mom was married 4 times. He ended up being raised by his grandparents. Later on in life, was not even involved in his father's funeral, really didn't know his brothers or sisters. For all intents and purposes, was on his own. He was overweight, didn't do well in school, wasn't allowed to play sports because his grandmother thought that he might get hurt. He lived in an impoverished neighborhood where he would say, you either had to learn to fight or run. He would tell me that he was too fat to run. His background is very similar to the kids that we work with at Lifeline. Some are more severe, some are less severe. But the story of his life can be very similar to the story that our kids have. There can be a future and there can be a hope. This young man began going to church on his own. At age 16, he accepted Christ into his life and later went on to marry a young woman from that very church. Just before graduating from high school, he made a decision to attend college. With little or no family support, that meant him working on the loading docks, loading groceries. While attending college, he would have nowhere to go on the holidays. In fact, he would bribe the security guards to allow him to stay in the dorms during the holidays while everyone went home for Christmas and Thanksgiving. He wasn't a great student, and it took about 6 years for him to finally finish his college degree. During college, he believed that God was calling him to the ministry, and he decided to follow that calling. He served in the pastorate for over 44 years, leading hundreds, if not thousands, of people to Christ. While working in Indianapolis, he decided to work for a local detention facility, helping young kids that were incarcerated in jail understand God's love for them. He had a real heart for the unlovely, the rejected, those people that what he would call rough around the edges. This man never made more than $28,000 a year. He always said that God would provide, and he did. Upon his death, his wife was able to live in the lifestyle she was used to and was able to enjoy her 11 beautiful grandchildren. This man will never have a book written about him, will never be remembered as a gifted scholar or a particularly gifted speaker. However, his background is a background that many of our children have experienced. If you haven't realized, this man was my father. His life mirrored the children that we work with. Unlike some of the children that we work with, he was able to take the tragedy, the weakness, and really the unfairness of his circumstances and do much with his life. After his death, I found a card that he always carried with him that had a poem on it that I'd like to read. Lord, you give me the best of your blessings, all free, not once asking what you're doing for me. Yet the choice I must make every day that I live is not how much to take, but how much to give. So when anyone asks me why I do what I do and why I'm as passionate about why I work for Lifeline, I think of the story of my dad and the things that he went through. I think of my father and how he was able to take the unfairness of life and do something with it. That's my goal for the kids that we work with. That's my goal for Lifeline.